there, and welcome to a very special episode of the Untitled Film Podcast with Callum and Johnny. I'm Johnny.
And I'm Callum.
And why is it special, Callum? What are we going to be talking about this week?
Well, finally, at long last, the biggest movie event of the year happened, or as a lot of my LA friends have been calling it, the gay Super Bowl. It's come, it's gone, and it was exciting. There were lots of big wins, and it was one of the biggest sweeps that we've had in quite some time in Oscar history. I think the statistic is that, and we'll keep it just under a hat for a little bit, that the sweeper is the biggest acting sweep since something like Network.
Wow, really? That big?
Because it's usually one.
Yeah, you
best
normally get
actress
like one best
or
one
a best actor
and one supporting and one supporting. Yeah.
It's never usually that everyone
everywhere all at once gets all the
everywhere
awards.
all at once gets all of the awards all at once.
Yeah.
The fact is, the only acting nomination it lost was to itself for Best Supporting Actress.
It's quite an interesting one because it's kind of the little film that could, because obviously for those that know about the Oscars, people tend to release their Oscar films in like November, December kind of time to get people so they're fresh in people's minds for when the Oscars come out. And this came out right at the start of the year. So it's quite unusual that you get a film that comes out at the start of the year. And obviously the Banshees of Inisherin came out, and The Whale, and there were some others that people were talking about as possible Oscar films. And I think people almost forgot about this. And then all of a sudden it kind of built its momentum back up again. And it's been quite interesting from that point of view.
There was a time when I was thinking it wasn't going to make it to the end, because I thought that at the beginning of the campaign, it was very high. But then I thought that Cate Blanchett would take it for Tar over Michelle Yeoh, and I thought that there were a couple of films. I thought that Everything Everywhere All at Once was just starting to slip, just around just after the Golden Globes, because there was everything with Cate Blanchett being the kind of main kind of contender, and then there was that odd thing that happened. Oh, I forget that actress's name again. I forgot her name last time. She's kind of an indie actress, a British actress. That kind of very
one that did that thing where everyone was trying to get like this film to.
Yeah.
Oh, let me find her name.
I
know who you mean. The one that like every person who's on a podcast or owns or is an actor somehow had like a 1% share in this movie, so they were all going to try and get her to win the award. That one.
Andrea Riseborough.
Yeah.
Like she suddenly.
What was the name of the film though?
To Leslie.
That was it.
She snuck in very late because of that kind of groundswell campaign from every millionaire celebrity in Hollywood was rooting for her and putting out Instagram posts saying, vote for To Leslie, vote for Andrea Riseborough. So I thought, oh, well, it would have been lovely to see Michelle Yeoh get an Oscar, but I guess it's not to be. And then it happened. Yay! I've been rooting for her for so long because, well, not just because of this film, but because she's Michelle Yeoh. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, so many great films from Hong Kong. She's one of the, original, from the kind of early 80s when Jackie Chan and other guys were getting famous, or Tony Leung. She was part of that group, and I love that era of cinema, and I love her, and I've been a big fan of hers forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and I'm so happy about this.
Anyway, we will find more about your opinion on that subject later in the episode. But for those of you that don't know what the Oscars are, I'm sure most of you do.
Is there anyone in the world that doesn't know? See, the Oscars are a award ceremony that vote for people named Oscar.
Right, yeah. That's not actually right. But Oscars happen every kind of March. They tend to be the crown jewel in the award ceremonies of the world. So the way the award season tends to work in the world is you get a number of film festivals normally through the summer months. You do get a couple of early ones like Sundance and things, but or late ones in the awards calendar, I suppose. So you kind of get a year almost restarts when it gets through to March from a film point of view, from an awardee point of view. And then, through the summer, you get like Berlin, Venice, Cannes Film Festival, a lot of European film festivals, South by Southwest, things like that. And people tend to start releasing kind of indie movies. And then later in the year, people seem to hold a few back, and then kind of November, December release some more, or often the movies that were premiered initially at the festivals come out as like a wide release for people to go and see. And then you kind of start ticking through the awards ceremony. So you have normally the Golden Globes is the first one. Because they're the first one, they get kind of a weird undue precedence that they probably don't deserve because they're usually shit. Then you get kind of the BAFTAs, you get some of the Independent Spirit Awards and Producers Guild and things like that. And then the last one is the Oscars. So you kind of normally have a fairly good idea of what is going to happen by the time you get to the Oscars, but you do get some surprises some years. Sometimes they do tend to beat to their own drum. There's been a lot of work in the last few years of trying to diversify the people that vote in the Oscars, because it used to be old white men, as I suppose is most things in the world.
Probably about 75% that now, but at least the 25% starting to come through.
Exactly. Which is why you used to get things like Driving Miss Daisy winning and Green Book winning and stuff. But yeah, so that is the Oscars. This year they're on... Is it the Oscars revolve around TV stations in the US, I want to say 1 year one has it and 1 year another one has it.
They might do, but to be honest, I'm not sure how they do it. That does sound right, though, just so that everyone gets a slice.
So this year it would have been on ABC because old safe pair of hands Jimmy Kimmel was in charge. I think it's about the third time he's done it.
I think it is, yes. Especially after last year, they would have wanted a safe pair of hands because of everything that happened with Chris Rock and William Smith.
Absolutely. You say that, but I actually think that they probably would have loved something like that to happen again, because actually it got them a lot more press and a lot more news.
It certainly got them press.
Yeah. The cynical person in me thinks that the people who running the TV stations and running the advertising things were going,
money.
Yeah, but there we go. But everyone in Hollywood, people having a little fight, it was the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of Hollywood. Shocked and appalled. Anyway, nothing like that happened this year. Old Safe Pair of Hands was back to have some mild jokes and poke some mild fun at people, but mainly self-deprecating, the opposite of Ricky Gervais.
Yes, very much so.
Who often does the Golden Globes. And yeah, it's quite a smug, smarmy night, I always think. I think that's what's kind of maybe different with the Golden Globes, where they do get someone like Ricky Gervais in. They almost pop the pomposity a little bit.
It's also more of a party. Same with the Independent Spirit Awards. People just get drunk, and
whereas they take the Oscars very seriously. Until they go to the variety after party, and then they get drunk.
Then they get drunk. Yes. I also thought that this ceremony, just from the speeches I saw, were a lot more emotional. I feel like there's been maybe not cynicism, but there's been a bit of a groundswell of people playing it cool in the last few years, like being gracious and thankful and appreciative, but playing it a little bit steely. Whereas this one, everybody was crying up on stage, and it was really nice to see. I did shed a tear or two at some of the winners, and they did seem to just be genuinely ecstatic. And it's been a while since I've seen it that big and that overwhelming emotional.
Yeah, it definitely did seem like that. Anyway, what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to go through each feature film category and just give our opinions on who won, if we thought the right film won, if we've seen the film, because we haven't seen all of them. I haven't seen everything ever all at once yet. More because I want to give it the reverence it deserves, and I haven't been in the right mood than any other reason. But it is for free on Amazon Prime for anyone who's got Amazon Prime out there. What I'll very quickly will go through is just the shorts and just tell you who won the categories. We're not going to go into too much detail on them, just for brevity. But well done to them as well. So live action short, the best one was, the winner was An Irish Goodbye. Best documentary short, The Elephant Whisperers. And then best animated short, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, which I think was on BBC over the Christmas period.
An English film.
Yeah, it did.
I saw some press about it.
So very well done to all of them. On to another film that I know is currently on BBC iPlayer. I think it is a British film, but I'm not 100% sure. I would be alive. I said, well, it was. Is the best documentary feature a film winner, which is Navalny. I might be saying that incorrectly. Which is about Alexei Navalny, who was basically probably the foremost opponent to. Is he the foremost? He basically is a political figure in Russia who is very opposed to Vladimir Putin. He was already very famous. He was very big on the internet. and he would basically try to lift the curtain to the corruption in Russia. So a very quick cliff note to those that don't know, the way that Russia is kind of built up is it's a bit of a house of cards with Vladimir Putin at the top and then the oligarchs underneath, and they kind of keep each other in power and obviously basically steal money from everyone else. It's kind of like capitalism, but even more corrupt. And they, and effectively he was trying to kind of show where all these people were getting their money, where the money was coming from. He used to do all these takedown videos and things. And then very famously, he got poisoned with Novichok, which was the same poison as the people in Salisbury got poisoned with as well, which is kind of Vladimir Putin's calling card. So shocker where people assume that came from. And he was rushed to Germany because they didn't think they would get the proper care in Russia and survived. And when he was in Germany, he kind of built himself back up and then went back to Russia, and at the time he went back to Russia, also released a video showing this absolutely must be cost tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of pounds or dollars or whatever currency you want to use, rubles, mansion that Vladimir Putin had built in the mountains of the Black Sea. That is just like the most opulent thing. It has an ice rink in it and all these things, and he'd secretly gone and got all these people to do drone footage and things over it, and it's one of those kind of things that. It's the kind of thing that happened when the fall of the fall of the Soviets happened, and people went and said, "Hang on, what if all these people that are telling us to drive a Trabant and eat gruel, living in like gilded mansions?" It's that kind of thing, and he's very much like that. He's an interesting political figure. Some good things about him and some bad things. He's quite patriotic, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but he isn't necessarily like the biggest. I don't think he would have supported going into Ukraine, but I don't think as a person he's also is like, well, no, Ukraine shouldn't be close to Russia, etc. So he's a bit more complicated. It's not black and white, but he's someone who anyway has exposed the corruption. And I've watched the documentary. It's a really compelling, interesting documentary. It's pieced together very well. A lot of really good behind the scenes stuff of them kind of finding out about who poisoned him and doing all that kind of stuff. Really solid, like 90 minutes, and it seems very well deserving. I have to admit, I don't think I have seen any other ones on that.
I have to admit that I haven't seen any of the nominations, but I do know about this film. I have seen it reviewed, and I know that it's almost absurdist at points, the way it kind of unearths this kind of corruption and shows it to be just so pantomime-esque, almost like the movie that came out, Armando Iannucci's Death of Stalin, where it's almost like a knockabout comedy, just how ridiculous the corruption and the wealth and the opulence is over there.
And not just that, also the way that the media has been taken over, and that some of the stuff when he's been poisoned, and obviously his camp is saying he's been poisoned, the stuff that on the kind of state TV that are going out, or people going, well, people with his kind of lifestyle, they take drugs, they do, these left-wing opposition people, they take drugs, and some of them, they have like big orgies and all these things. So who knows what he could be dying from? and that kind of like trying to discredit him with like stuff that just sounds ridiculous. It sounds like the kind of stuff that is a parody. It doesn't sound like reality. And I suppose, obviously, this was all precursor to the most recent war in Ukraine, because obviously Crimea and stuff as well. But yeah, it was a precursor to that. And I think it does do a very good job of showing, the ridiculousness of the ruling classes of Russia. Although anyone in the UK will know we've had some of those ridiculous things with our own state media broadcasters this week.
Yes.
So
yes.
We won't go too much in detail on that, because I could do a whole podcast on it.
Yeah, that would be quite a tangent.
Absolutely.
From which we would never recover.
No, absolutely.
And Rob would have to cut out all of it.
Anywho, yeah. Any more to say on best documentary feature?
Unfortunately, not. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any of these, any of the nominated, I'm afraid to say.
So, on to best animated feature. So, those best animated feature, the winner was Guillermo del Toro with Pinocchio. It just really confused me. I was just reading my notes. It just really confused me because it's called Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I was like, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I was really confused at what it was saying that, but anyway. And it was up against Marcel, The Shoe with Shells On, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. Now, I haven't seen all of these films, but I've seen a few of them.
Same.
And I don't know if that's the one I would have personally picked as best picture of the ones that I've seen.
Yeah, personally not as well. I mean, I liked Pinocchio. We both did. We reviewed it here, and it was the best film called Pinocchio to come out in 2022.
I would say arguably the best Pinocchio movie possibly. It's probably better than the original animated one.
Yeah, it certainly gives it a run for its money.
Yeah.
And it is very good. It's very dark, and the animation is very well crafted. But of the nominees, I unfortunately, oops,
Callum.
oh wait a minute, I probably would have gone with Turning Red, and I would like to see Marcel the Shell with Shoes. I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen the trailers, I've seen the reviews, and it does look very beautiful. But I think, Pinocchio, I think left us both. We liked it, but we were sort of mildly positive more than we were over the moon about it. Whereas I think Turning Red told a lot more of a personal story, especially for the director. It's the first Disney film, as far as I'm aware, to be set in Canada rather than America. Its metaphor to being a Chinese, a daughter of an immigrant, and the metaphor for the turning red and for periods and adolescence, I thought was very beautifully handled and really left me tearing
Unlike
up.
your explanation of it there.
Yes.
Which just started to get a little bit all over the place.
A little bit.
You should be chuckling in the background. I was just like, what's Callum doing? He's tying himself in knots. But no, I agree. Of the ones that I've seen, I would certainly have picked Turning Red over. I just think it's more consistent. I think Pinocchio is very all over the place. It looks beautiful. I like the way it's told. I know Academy Award voters probably really like Guillermo del Toro. But Turning Red is just a more consistent movie. It works better. I really like the relationships in it. I really like the story. I really like the metaphors. I think it just works better as an overall piece. I've also heard some amazing things about Puss in Boots and The Last Wish as well. I haven't seen it yet.
The fact that it's held so well at the box office shows that people are coming back for seconds, thirds, fourths. They just want to see it again.
I haven't seen it yet. I've seen clips from it, and every clip has been excellent. And I know the kind of overarching storyline, and it just sounds really smart and really clever. So that's one that I want to see. I've also heard very good things about Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. So I think maybe it was quite an open category this year, but it's not the one.
I think with Guillermo del Toro as well, he's one of those guys. He pretty much has his own spot at the Academy now. The fact that they gave Nightmare Alley a Best Picture nomination kind of shows that he's like, whenever there's a slot going for that 8th or 9th place, and if Guillermo del Toro has a movie out and it's pretty good, they're going to give him a nomination.
But then he won, so that's where it's a bit strange. Maybe they were just because Disney I think this is the first time that a Disney film hasn't won it since like 2018 or something. So maybe they were like, maybe share the love a bit. But
maybe.
Yeah, that was Netflix's big win of the night. Actually, they've got two big wins coming up to the next movie.
A big win.
The next category, which is Best International Feature Film.
Well, this is the second big sweep of the evening because, as we all know, Everything Everywhere All at Once won 7, and there were only 3 films to win 2 or more awards, and this one was the second biggest. It won 4 for Best Foreign Language Film and several technical nominations. And it really seems to have taken people because, at the BAFTAs, it was the big winner. And throughout the campaign, it tends to have taken either bronze or silver in terms of how many awards it goes away with. Of course, firstly, it's a big technical marvel, the visual effects, cinematography, all the biggies. And
wow, coming to the next category, you might disagree with that.
Most of the biggies, certainly. And it's quite special for a couple of reasons, because firstly, it kind of buries the hatchet with Netflix and the Oscars, because there was a time when they were very frosty to one another.
But dos movos now.
And
dos movies this year,
and it's also the biggest showing for a foreign language film since Parasite. With how many it's taken home, so it's big for a few reasons. I've heard good reviews about it.
I've heard really good things. Yeah,
so it has a high 70s on Metacritic, and of course it's based on a classic. It's one of the big early films was All Quiet on the Western Front. So it has a lot of love in the cinematic landscape.
I've not seen anyone who's seen it who's come up to me and said, you know what, it's better than 1917 or it's better than this, that, the, I've not heard anyone go like,
same.
wow, shooketh, it's so
I've
good.
seen people come away saying, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
As a war film, whew, that's a goodie.
And that's why I haven't probably rushed out to see it, because or rushed in and turned the Netflix on to see it, because it's obviously quite a heavy movie, so you have to be in the right mood, but it's never been told to me like it's got such an amazing thing that an amazing set of reviews that I must go see it. The other films that were nominated were The Quiet Girl, EO, Close, and Argentina 1985. I haven't seen any of them.
I haven't seen any of them either, but the one I've heard the most about is EO, which is a story about the donkey.
Yeah.
And people have, I think, at least in terms of critical plaudits.
Should be Eeyore.
Yes, but yes. In terms of critical plaudits, that's been the biggie. I think that's the ones that have taken the hearts of stuffy film critics that write for broadsheet newspapers. But I've heard that's a beautiful film. It's not the populist choice, obviously, but I've heard that. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we were to do those two films at one point, us coming away liking EO more, because of the landscape of cineasts. They seem to go for that one. That's the cineast's choice for this nomination.
Yeah, absolutely. No, excellent. So, next category is Best Visual Effects. So the nominees were Top Gun Maverick, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Do you want to try that again?
Nah, it's all right. I think they got it. The Batman, All Quiet on the Western Front, and the winner was Avatar, The Way of the Water.
Well, of course it was going to be, wasn't it?
Well, yes and no. It depends what you see visual effects as, I suppose.
I think
is it CGI effects?
Well,
then yes,
exactly.
It probably hands down should be the winner. But actually, if you're talking about visual effects, Top Gun Maverick and flying real planes,
I think so
the
too.
Batman visually, or All Quiet on the Western Front's a big technical picture. So it depends what you really see.
I'm in agreement, but there are some people, or a lot of people even, that see CGI and they just go, whoa!
There are a lot of people.
Blue!
But that's the opposite. I hate CGI. I just give me...
it should be a tool.
It's a tool to touch things up. Look at what David Fincher does with CGI, or look at what Chris Nolan does with CGI.
Or early Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
Late
you use it as a tool to do something you couldn't do physically.
I think Top Gun would have been my choice, but also the Batman is no slouch either. I like that the Batman has a textual look to it. You can feel that there's a lot of rigs, a lot of pistons and explosions going on underneath cars to blow things up.
Yeah.
The way it kind of soaks things in, like that explosion scene where he walks over to the Penguin's car after it's been fixed.
It looks so good. That's the best shot in the movie.
Yeah.
I was watching that I watched it again actually on the flight back from Sri Lanka, and it really holds. I really like the Batman. I would have picked either of those over Avatar. Because I didn't think from the start, and I haven't watched the whole movie, but the bits that I saw, obviously it's better than it was 10 or 13 years ago, but it didn't feel... Whereas the first Avatar, when it came out, it was like, whoa, this is a game changer. This is so different. Like, they've managed to just about get over Uncanny Valley. Visually, everything's really incredible. All of the kind of flowers and all the crazy stuff. And all this, like, doing it underwater and things. I just didn't think the clips I've seen just didn't blow me away. I didn't think it was that much of a step forward.
Never liked the look of the Na'vi. Even if it's a technical...
They're gangly.
Achievement. Yeah, they are. They're weirdly proportioned. And I just think it's all a bit of a misstep making them so tall. It just looks goofy to me.
Well, I mean, but that's more, I suppose, design than the pure visual effects. But
true.
I just didn't think that it didn't seem to me 13 years of progress visually.
No.
So I don't know. It wouldn't have been what I'd have picked.
And I know there is a hard thing, like you've already locked the design in 2008.
Yeah.
So you kind of can't...
Well, probably 2005.
Well, quite. You can't change things up too much. But even so, if you look at... sorry, that was me that time.
It's always you.
If you look at Toy Story 4 compared to Toy Story 1, where they have to keep the designs of Woody and Buzz consistent. They can't change them, but yet they can improve how the plastic of their skin looks, or how the humans look, or how the dog from the first film or the cat in Toy Story 4 look. There are places for improvement.
There definitely was improvement, and obviously doing the underwater stuff and things is impressive technically, but yeah, it didn't make me. I didn't look at it and think, "Wowza!" It same. Was like, okay, yeah, it's good, well done.
Still haven't seen it. I know it's taken all the money in the world, but
I don't care.
Yeah,
I've not met a person yet who's come out and seen. I've met 2 people that have walked out of it. I know one person that's fallen asleep in it. I've not had someone who's come out and gone, "You must go see that movie." So until that day happens,
I know someone who fell asleep too.
I mean, the ringing endorsement. I mean, I don't like the first one that much, so I'm very sure I'm not going to like this one. But anyway, yeah, that's the best visual effects. On to something that kind of connects in with that, best production design. I actually think the nominations are weird in this category. Well, some aren't, but some are. So best production design, All Quiet on the Western Front. Makes sense, that one. Avatar: The Way of the Water. I didn't realise blue screens were production design. Babylon. Okay, fair enough. I haven't had many great reviews about that film, but I think probably from the trailer, the production design looks good. Elvis. Again, there is some good production design at points, but it's a lot of CG in it as well.
Yes.
And The Fabelmans, with its first nomination, the film that people thought was going to sweep everything at one point.
There was a time when I thought it was, yeah.
And it's it's
I can understand The Fabelmans because they have to recreate, is it 1950s, I want to say? So the 1950s America, so that's always a good excuse to get that nomination.
The same with Elvis, isn't it? 60s and 70s. But like bits of it with Elvis really work. Like there's a bit where he's going along, it's after he comes out of the army and he's walking along his private jet and talking about all of his like family and friends who work for him, and it's got the remix of Britney Spears' Toxic and the way that's done, and I thought that was a cool set and the way it then jumped into, but I just didn't think it was like anything stunning from a set point of view. Avatar, what sets?
Yeah.
What sets?
Someone joked on Facebook earlier today all it was, it's just mud. And that was their production design for All Quiet on the Western Front. It's just mud.
That as well, yeah. Like I just don't think anything. Like why is the Batman not in that category?
Well, yeah, that would have been a really good choice. I mean, the way they changed for the exterior shots, for the wide shots, changed up Liverpool to look like a dystopian American city, and then in the close-in shots, you got some really gnarly noir, David Fincher-esque sort of stuff going on there. That would have been a good choice.
Yeah, exactly.
But I felt the Batman was quite underrepresented anyway.
I think maybe because it came out so early in the year.
Because it should have, some of the stuff that it was nominated for, it should have won, I thought, and it should have got more technicals than it did, I think.
Yeah, whoever's picked the films for this category is stupid.
The voters of the Academy.
Stupid.
You're stupid.
Fucking get up and watch a movie, all right? But yeah, anyway. Yeah.
We've lost their list.
Onto the best. That's the best production design done. It's all wrong. I don't understand. Maybe Babylon.
James Cameron is crying now. I hope you're happy.
But he hasn't. It's a tennis ball on a stick.
He's never going to endorse us now. He was just about to give us a sponsorship. And now he's turned it off.
It's a tennis ball on a stick.
It was about to say Avatar
Underwater.
3 is going to be exclusively sponsoring that podcast.
Wow.
Not anymore.
Good. I don't want James Cameron's money. Not until he starts making Terminator 2 again. Anyway. Best film editing. This one probably was the right film to win this category, even though I haven't seen it. Best film editing, Top Gun Maverick, Tar, Elvis, The Banshees of Inisherin. I love that film, but I don't know what editing there is.
It's more functional. It's functionally edited film.
It's not like it's not flashily edited. Again, The Batman probably has more editing chops in it, but anyway.
Actually, that's probably the one I wouldn't give it, because it's 3 hours long. 3 hours.
It's not called best script editing.
No, but still, editing is part of that process.
Yeah, to be fair. And the winner, of course, is Everything Everywhere All at Once, which for such a phonetic movie, it makes sense. And
it's not just that it's phonetic, because I don't know how much you know about the plot,
I don't give it. No, I don't. I know bits, but yeah.
Because it's got to kind of jump in and out
yeah.
of all these fantastical sequences. And I think that's good enough to say without kind of spoiling. And it's not linear. It twists and turns. So it is best edited in its individual sequences, but also in the fact that it has an emotional through line, even though you're jumping all over the show. So it is fantastically edited.
I mean, even the trailers are well edited, and that's saying so. That if that's the case, then fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the one to go for.
Just from the trailers, it kind of reminds you of something like Natural Born Killers or something, where there is a lot of editing being
I would
done
say
there.
it's less Natural Born Killers is more kind of mid MTV, 95, sort of like.
This is a bit more.
This is a bit more consistent in tone, where that one, like, let's pretend to be a 50s sitcom for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's do this bit with some kind of weird cartoony bit, because it's 1996 and every film does that.
Absolutely. But no, I think it probably is the right one to win. Elvis, is a lot of editing in Elvis as well.
Yes, that's a very edited film.
Yeah.
I think that's a good nomination.
If that had won, I'd have thought. I haven't seen Tar. I don't necessarily think that's massively like on the maybe Banshees. Like okay, well done, but nothing special.
Wouldn't be surprised just because it has musical sequences, which can be a tough sort of, thing to kind of go around.
Yeah. And Top Gun is well edited, and the fight scene, the dog fight scenes and things are very well done, so I can see that. But no, that seems like the right one won, so we can agree on that one with the Academy for once. Best sound editing, Elvis. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, well, anything with music is a hard one to get right, and of course, you're dealing with so many different sequences of Elvis's life, and it's done in that Baz Luhrmann style, so it's not just real, it's hyper real.
Yeah, I have to admit, I have been also listening, not that it's sound editing, but listening to the mashup between Britney Spears' Toxic and Viva Las Vegas a lot this week, so just putting that out there.
I think that's a fine win there.
Yeah, they didn't win.
Oh, did it not?
No. I'm going through nominations.
Oh, sorry.
The Batman, again, I think that's... I enjoyed the sound editing on that. Avatar: The Way of the Water, don't know, I haven't seen it, but yeah, fine. All Quiet on the Western Front, I'm sure there's some good gunshots in it. But the winner for best sound editing, any guesses?
No, you tell me.
Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, well, that doesn't
Makes
surprise
sense,
me.
yeah.
I think that's a
Nothing wrong with
very
that.
good choice.
Yeah.
I think all of those nominations, from the ones I've seen,
Yeah, I think they would have been... I think that's a category where they pretty much got it all right.
Anyone could have won, and I would have been happy.
So, well done again, Oscars, and well done everyone who was nominated in the best sound category. You would all have been good winners.
It's now combined, because it used to be sound editing and mixing apart, and I think they've
Just best sound now,
it's
yeah.
just now best sound.
Best adapted screenplay. The nominees were Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, reviewed on this podcast. Top Gun Maverick, reviewed on this podcast. Living, I don't know much about Living. All Quiet on the Western Front, and Women Talking was the winner.
So I know a little bit about this film, because I know that it snuck in. It was like the 9th, 10th Best Picture nominee. It was the one that kind of just snuck in, and people thought it was going to represent a lot higher, and then it ended up only getting a few. I think.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of talk at one point that if the actors, they could have been acting gongs, and they could have been.
From what I understand, the cast is excellent, and the subject matter is very important. And of course, it's written by Sarah Polley, who, before turning almost exclusively to filmmaking, was a very in-demand Canadian actress. She was in... Her most high-profile role was the Zack Snyder version of Dawn of the Dead, but she's been an indie darling in the Canadian scene for bloody ages. So she's got a lot of support behind her. And I think when this film didn't over-represent, perhaps it should have done, I don't want to say a sympathy vote, that sounds condescending, but I think there was once it didn't do as well as people thought it should have done, I think there was probably a lot more support to make sure that the nomination that it knew it could possibly win got over the line. And so that didn't surprise me, and I'm actually quite happy for Sarah Polley, because she's been making really excellent films for several years now, since I think her first film as a director was 2006, and this is her first that's kind of where she's got a gong.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair comment, and yeah, no, good. Best original screenplay. So the nominees were Tar, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, Triangles of Sadness, which is the first time we've talked about that on this episode.
Yes.
I've heard really mixed things. I know some
too.
people that absolutely love it, and I know some people that think it's a load of tut.
Me too.
But I like the trailers. It was something I
and it
wanted
did quite
to see,
well
actually.
in the nominations. I think it got 3 or 4.
Yeah, it did. And the winner was bum ba da bum bum bum. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah.
Not a surprise.
Not a surprise, no.
Not a shock.
I think that's a fair comment. Although actually, if Banshees had won it, I think that was a very good script as well.
Yeah, I would have been happy with that.
If anything, the script is the strongest part of, and the acting of the lead characters.
Yes.
But yeah, they're the strongest part of that film. Actually, there's everything else is just normal, but those two bits, I suppose, are really good.
Yes, no, I'd agree. I would have been very happy if Banshees won, but I'm happy as well.
But I'm going on your recommendation that Everything Everywhere All at Once is also a
yes, it is. I thought, and again, much like its editing, it has to do so much with its screenplay. It's a really knotty screenplay, but you never lose as you. You always know exactly where you are in its place.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the next category, Best Cinematography. And the nominees are Tar, Empire of Light, which was shot down the road from here.
Yes, it was.
And
actually, it's not the only Kent representation here.
It's not, no. But yeah, only not far from here. It's obviously Sam Mendes. Who does Sam Mendes use? I'm sure he uses always the same cinematographer, and I can't think who it is off the top of my head.
Well, this one is shot by Roger Deakins.
It's Deakins. I thought it was Deakins. I had Deakins in my head. I'm sure he uses Deakins quite a lot.
He does now because his old cinematographer, Conrad Hall, died after making, I think it was either Road to Perdition or another one, but he was his regular.
Yeah, he's been Deakins since all the Bond films, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
That he did. But yeah. Empire of Light, which does look very well shot, although I hear very issues with narrative. Although I think that will be something we may be reviewing in the not too distant future.
That'd be a good one to do.
As it's now on Disney Plus. Elvis, which I think is good cinematography.
Yes, it's very much a Baz Luhrmann cinematography film, which is no bad thing.
A lot of effort's been put into the cinematography and the thought it out. Bardo, False Chronicles of a Handful of Truths, which I'm not going to lie, until this second I'd never heard of.
Never heard of it. But I'm happy for it. Yeah, it's always nice when a film that's, gets underrepresented.
Fair play to
gets a nomination.
Yeah. And then finally the winner was All Quiet on the Western Front.
Represent Kent. I was not familiar with this guy, and I only heard, I think either today or yesterday, that the cinematographer for this film went to school in Kent. So yeah, another Kent boy.
Well done.
Well done.
I think that's again, from the bits I've seen, looks like a good choice. Best costume design. The nominees were Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Oh yes, that I know that because Kermode reviewed it just because Jason Isaacs has a fairly small role in it. So hello to Jason Isaacs.
Hello to Jason Isaacs.
Sorry,
and
that was me.
For fuck's sake, Callum. This is meant to be a very
slick operation.
Slick episode. This is the Oscars.
Sorry, Rob.
I like the rhyming of the word Harris and Paris. I'm just going to put that out there. Everything Everywhere All at Once didn't win this category. Elvis, makes sense. Babylon, the costume design looks great in the trailers for that.
Yes.
But the winner was Black Panther with Wakanda Forever, which will be reviewed either on the next or the episode after.
Will be reviewed fairly soon.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing that one. So we'll keep tight-lipped, but the costumes look cool.
I thought the costumes were very good. Of course, they have to mix Afrofuturism, superhero stuff, more traditional sort of Pan-African sort of thing. So, it is a good kind of effort for a costume designer.
And as ever, Angela Bassett looks like a god.
Yes, she does.
Good choice, I think. Best makeup and hairstyles. There's probably, it makes sense, the winner of this one, but for reasons we'll get into in a bit. But Elvis, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, The Batman, All Quiet on the Western Front, and the winner is The Whale. Obviously, The big thing with The Whale is fat suit.
Yes.
Personally, I absolutely hate fat suits.
Me too.
And I wouldn't have given it to the whale for that reason.
For that reason, same.
And probably I wouldn't have given it to Elvis for the same reason.
Yes.
Whereas although that's just where it's like we said in our review, where it's a movie of two halves. They didn't bother doing that with Austin Butler, and it was great. But they did it from the start.
They certainly did it with Tom Hanks with his big stick-on rubber nose.
I'd have given it to the Batman. I
think
really like the
Batman
makeup and costume design.
Yeah, and it's very gothy, very noir. I wasn't sure whether to read this now or I can wait until Best Actor. But
let's do in Best Actor.
Okay,
I think it makes more sense than Best Actor.
We can get more into that about
we will.
How fat people are represented in films and if it's condescending or if it's charitable or what is it?
Yeah,
we'll save that for a bit.
But yeah, I personally of those would have picked the Batman.
Yeah, the Batman would have been a good choice, and again, Black Panther wouldn't have gone amiss there similarly.
Yeah, best original score. So the Fabelmans, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, Babylon, and All Quiet on the Western Front was the winner. I haven't seen All Quiet, as I said.
Yeah, same. I have.
But none of them seem to have
None of them, even, I mean, as much as I adore Everything Everywhere All at Once, the score is good. I like it, but there's nothing I would go crazy for about it. Was the Batman amongst those nominated?
No, and I think I've got a reason why.
Why?
I've got a guess.
Okay.
Because a lot of it is Nirvana, isn't it? But made into like orchestral Nirvana.
I mean, that's more of the trailer thing.
It's quite a lot in there. I mean, I was watching it.
But like the theme, the orchestral theme is, I really liked it. But I thought that Batman would be a technical darling, and it wasn't, and that made me a bit sad.
But no, I really like the score on the Batman, and there was something else that I thought of, and it's gone out of my head. But there's a couple of other things. That Empire of Light. I would have thought maybe I've listened to the soundtrack for that because it's a Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross production, which is like it's crack to me, yeah. Like him and with what's his name? The guy who did White Lotus and Utopia, his soundtracks as well.
Yes.
His name's gone out of my head.
And also the Fabelmans. I mean, it's. I think this is something like John Williams' 80th nomination.
I feel like they just nominate. Oh, John Williams has done another soundtrack. We better nominate him.
This is also his final score for Steven Spielberg because, of course, he's retiring now.
Yeah.
So the one for Indiana Jones 5 that he's doing is going to be his last ever, I think. So he's this is it after this.
Yeah. Another category that I didn't think there was anything particularly exciting this year, although was his best original song. Everything Everywhere All at Once had a best original song. Didn't know that. This is A Life, Sun Lux, it's called.
Oh yes, that does play the end credits.
Hold My Hand, Lady Gaga from Top Gun Maverick. I've seen Top Gun Maverick twice. Didn't realise Lady Gaga did a song for it. Lift Me Up, Rihanna for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Obviously, the last Wakanda Forever, the last Black Panther had like a really sick soundtrack, but I haven't heard that much about the one this time.
Yeah, it's not much to go on, I'd say.
Applause, Sophia Carlson and Dane Warren from Tell It Like a Woman. And then the winner was Natu Natu by Carla Bahava and Raul Sipelgun.
I can see the cogs in his head whirring.
Sorry for the bad pronunciations. These are the first times I've heard these names. And for the movie RRR, which I have heard is very good actually. It's Bollywood, isn't it?
It is. There's been some kind of rumblings because Bollywood tends to become a catch-all term for all Indian cinema, but this isn't Hindi.
Isn't filmed in,
it's something else. To be honest, I forget the language it's in, but some people dispute the claim that the films in this particular language are.
But that's Bollywood. But it's a film made in India.
Yes, it is, and it's a bananas action film. But to be honest, of all the things about it, the song in it was not the thing that I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard everyone.
I've seen the trailer actually for it. It looks quite cool.
All my cine kind of nerdy friends say CRRR. It's the Mad Max Fury Road of 2022.
I saw a clip of them performing at the Oscars as well. It looked good fun. So probably seems like the one that should have won.
Yeah.
Which is good. We can go with that one because it's otherwise it seems quite a poor category this year.
Yeah, seem to be a lot of... I didn't know that was in that film.
Yeah. Who knew Lady Gaga did a song for Top Gun? Excellent. Now we get into, should we say the meat? Although there's been some meat further down, I suppose. But Best Director. Yeah. This is quite again, there's almost some surprises in here. So, Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. That surprised me considering the amount of ones.
To go down well with the Academy, this film.
Yeah, it's been obviously very mixed, but it's not really featured in that many other categories so far to get a Best Director nod. You'd think that there were some other ones that...
I think it represents quite a lot from this point.
Okay, fair enough. And then, obviously, Martin McDonagh for Banshees of Inisherin. You all know our opinion on that. Todd Field for Tar. Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. And winner, Daniel Kwan for... Daniel Kwan with Daniel... I don't know how to say the second Daniel.
So they're referred to as the Daniels. So if you want to back out and just say the Daniels, then you can just go with that.
No, I'm going to try and pronounce his name. Shanert? I'm going to say Shanert.
Let's go for that.
Daniel Shanert. Everything Everywhere All at Once was the winner.
I'm very happy for the Daniels, and it's the most directed film there. Also, it's nice to see because did you ever see Swiss Army Man?
I did, yeah.
Where Paul Dano carts around a dead Daniel Radcliffe.
Who farts a lot.
It's those guys. And this is like the only film, it's their second film. So they're very eclectic, sort of, spiky, youthful indie filmmakers made big. And I was actually telling Johnny just before the recording of this, one of the two directors, I forget which of the Daniels.
It was Daniel Kwan, wasn't it?
It may have been
He
Daniel
did quite
Kwan.
a nice speech at the Oscars,
Yes.
which was really nice, which is why I remembered his name.
Because I believe it was Daniel Kwan who it hadn't been diagnosed with ADHD until after he made Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is very much a film like someone with ADHD would make. And at some point he must have realized, I think I need to go get tested, And it turns out he did. And, as a neurodivergent person, it's a good piece of representation there for that. So it's a nice thing to see. And it's when you do see the film, you would say, yep, that's made by someone with ADHD. So that's quite a nice thing.
Yeah, excellent. But yeah, I think that was probably the right choice.
Yeah, I think so.
Having not seen the film. But no, I'll go with you on that. Excellent. On to Best Actress in a supporting role.
In a sporting role. Oh.
In a sporting role. This is a little question I'm going to throw out there. Do you think they should get rid of Best Actor and Actress categories and merge into one?
So it's a bit of a complicated choice because the issue could be that if they merge them, it's just going to be blokes winning.
Well, that's it. Women become underrepresented.
Yeah.
But should that not be? Should they say, right, each category will have 6 nominations, it's got to be 3 men and 3 women?
Well, that's certainly one way to do it. And
guys win all the time.
I guess there's the issue of where would you place, it hasn't happened yet, so at least at the Oscars, but I think in television it has actors who are non-binary or...
Make it easier.
Yeah, exactly. That is a plus for it, so that would make it easier in the future. So, there's a lot of pros and cons.
There's obviously, I think, and this is where there's a slight issue from a language point of view as well. Best actor doesn't need to be a man or a woman. An actor is a person who's acting in a thing.
Yes.
So already there's like an inbuilt sexism into that.
Well, yes.
It's always a point that's bugged me with a language point of view, actually. But anyway, we won't go into too much detail on that now, but yeah, that's an interesting question. Tell us what you think on Instagram. Or
Untitled Film Podcast, one word on Instagram.
Exactly. I could get it in somewhere. But no, so the nominees were Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Hong Chow. I was right there. I thought it was Chow. Kerry Condon for Banshees of Inisherin, who was excellent. Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And also Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, who was the winner.
Have you been keeping up with her Oscar campaign?
Yeah, she's
so fun. She's like everybody's favourite wine aunt.
And everyone's also been saying she has not like annoyingly over the top buying like really ridiculous clothes and things.
She's played it very well because, go too far, you become annoying. Don't go far enough, you get buried. She's been fun. Although I will say, as much as I love the film, she isn't my favourite supporting actress in the film. I would have gone with the other choice for everything.
It's definitely she.
Yeah. I think with Jamie Lee Curtis, it is a bit of a legacy win because she's
I
Jamie
kind
Lee
of
Curtis.
thought that. It was like, sometimes they're like, well, this might be the last time we can give an Oscar to Jamie Lee Curtis.
And she's good in it. She's very good in it. In fact, I don't want to underplay that she is very good in it. But I think of the two supporting actresses, she has the least compelling arc. I would have... And even then, I'm not sure if I even would have given it... I think I may have gone with Carrie Condon. Personally, and having just seen...
I really like Carrie Condon.
Yeah, she was so good. And having just seen Wakanda Forever, had that one, because she was the front runner for a long time.
Yeah.
That's it. Had she won, that also would have been a legacy win.
She's a legend as well.
And she is a legend. But she is a very compelling... If it was a legacy win, I wouldn't have been upset with that legacy.
And I kind of feel like, considering what happened with Chad,
well, exactly,
she held that film together. Like it wouldn't have worked without her and without her performance in it.
Especially, that scene, the one that's in the trailer. Have I not given everything? Cuts right through you.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of good choices there. Actually, a lot of choices where if they had won, I would have been happy. And actually, I'm not happy about Jamie Lee Curtis because she is a legend as well. But it is a bit of a legacy win.
Yeah. Fair enough. The next category is Best Actor in a Supporting Role.
Oh, I love this one.
So Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, probably my choice.
Excellent.
Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans.
Legacy.
Barry Tree Henry. Is that how you say it?
I think Tyree.
Brian. I'm getting this
He's
really...
the guy that we were talking about him just last week, actually.
Brian Terry Henry for Causeway.
Yeah.
We were talking about him last week. Sorry about Brian. I completely... I blame my glasses.
The film's only nomination, but I've heard he's very good.
Yeah. Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin. And Kei Hoi Kwan.
I think it's... Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
Kei Hoi Kwan. For Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, who was once again the winner.
I do love this story, because, he was the child actor, and...
He had a great speech as well, actually.
He did, and he was so sweet and very emotional.
Very emotional.
Just a bit like Jackie Earle Haley. He was a child actor, very talented, and then just kind of got lost, and then came back many years later, only to be nominated and then eventually win. Of course, Jackie Earle Haley didn't win, but win his Oscar, and he is excellent in that film.
Wasn't he in was it the Star Wars movies he was in?
No, he was in Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, that's it. Yeah, because there's a picture of...
Short Round.
There's a picture of
Harrison Ford
hugging him in the movie and then hugging him at the... And
it's very sweet, and this performance is... It is kind of the heart of the movie, because Michelle Yeoh's character, has to be quite harsh, quite stoic because of circumstances, and he is the sort of the sweetheart, and he just breaks my heart. I would have been happy with Barry Keoghan too, who is fantastic. But both of those nominations are excellent choices.
Obviously, I've not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, but from the trailer, he looked good. But I just really like Barry Keoghan.
So good. I would have been very happy with that too. Very happy.
Yeah, I can't say which I'd rather have won, but possibly Barry. But yeah, excellent. Now on to Best Actress. So, the winner was Ana de Armas for Blonde.
Yada.
No, it wasn't. Nominations: so Kate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde. Boo. Although she was all right.
She did her best.
Andrea Risenberg for Riseborough. Sorry. For Two Leslies. Michael Williams.
Yeah, Michael Williams. Michael K. Williams from The Wire. Risen from the grave.
You could tell this has been a long recording session already. Michelle Williams for The Fableman, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, who of course won.
I kind of spoiled my thoughts on that, but I'm just so happy that she won. And not just for the film, but because of who she is and what she represents for both cinema in general, but international cinema as well.
Having not seen it, I'm still happy for her to have won.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
The only one in that category I have seen though is Andrew Ramos in Blonde, and I don't like blondes, so excellent. And then on to Best Actor. This one we haven't talked about too much yet. The nominees were Austin Butler for Elvis, probably who I would have wanted to win. Colin Farrell, The Banshees of Inisherin. Bill Nye,
my choice
for which one? Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell, yeah.
Okay. Bill Nye for Living. Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Brendan Fraser for The Whale, who was the winner.
Yes.
I'm mixed on it because I haven't seen The Whale.
I am so glad that he is back.
Yeah, I love Brendan Fraser, and I am glad he has won an Oscar, and I'm glad that he's got his career's kind of come back, and I'm glad for a lot of things. Not sure if this is a role that I wanted to.
It's an uncomfortable win.
I just think it's mega cringe.
I'm glad that he's back too, and he will now have the opportunities to make other movies that won't have to be so try hard.
Yeah, it feels like
Darren Aronofsky often is.
You know when and I like Darren Aronofsky apart from post Noah, and this is obviously post Noah. Yeah. I think the problem is sometimes like Will Smith, so desperate to win an Oscar, doing all of these Oscar baity films over the years, and none of them like Pursuit of Happiness, Seven Pound, all these things, and they just. I think when someone tries too hard, you're just like, oh, I'm switched off.
Give it a rest.
And I kind of feel like this is that kind of film. And I also, it just doesn't seem, the whole premise of the film doesn't sit well with me. It's a bit like
with a lot of people.
Like sadness porn.
It has been referred to as misery porn.
Yeah.
And of course it's...
Don't like it.
We in our private lives, we've spoken about this when things like Green Book have come out. Like white people solve racism movies, where very well-meaning white people will write a movie about black experience. It must be said that it seems to be a similar thing to people who are overweight. Perhaps maybe should be telling their own stories. Because you do get into the realms of condensation and being condescending.
Yeah.
So the other day I read an article by a woman named Lindy West, who is an author and a comedian and a film critic. I haven't heard of this TV show, but she was the co-creator and wrote the book of a TV show called Shrill, which ran for 3 seasons on Hulu, and apparently was very well reviewed, got an Emmy nomination. So someone who knows her onions, and that show is about kind of fat acceptance and that kind of thing. And she wrote this scathing article for The Guardian about The Whale, where a friend had told her, "Go see this film. It's terrible. You'll hate it. I want to hear your opinion." And she wraps it up with this very succinct paragraph: "To the filmmakers, you are not on the gallows with us. You are the hangman. You are not noble, long-suffering Liz," who's Hong Chau's character, "trying to save Charlie," which Brendan Fraser, "or Charlie's inexplicable glowing benevolence in an unjust world. You are the dirty apartment closing in. Fat people are already trapped, suffocating inside the stories the rest of you tell yourselves about us. We have plenty of your stories. What we don't have is the space to forge untainted relationships with food and our bodies, to speak honestly about our lives without being abused, to explore our full potential without having it stolen by a world that thinks of us as Charlie, if it thinks of us at all." And that is damning. And I haven't seen the film, so I can't say for certain yet, but the whole thing does make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just get a bad vibe for it. I get a bad vibe for it. It doesn't feel. I don't get it. I think that's it. I just don't get the. I don't understand how it works. I don't understand what there is to be gained from this story, And as you say, and if it was written by somebody who had that experience, you kind of think, oh, it's them telling their experience, but it's not. It's written by some rando person who doesn't have that experience. So
it almost feels like the kind of film that the elites come out of and pat themselves on the back for being brave enough to seeing a film about one of those horrible people that you hear about in the news, but not actually have anything to do with it. Yeah.
Also, I do just hate fat suits.
Yes, and yeah.
So yeah,
it's
that as
very
well.
grimy.
Anyway, that is Best Actor. But well done to Brendan Fraser, because I like you. But maybe you probably don't like this film.
Yeah.
Best Picture. So 10 films can be nominated for Best Picture now, as there have been for quite a few years, but yeah, that's the thing that happens. So the nominations are Women Talking, Triangle of Sadness, Top Gun Maverick, Tar, The Fabelmans, Elvis, The Banshees of Inisherin, Avatar: The Way of the Water, All Quiet on the Western Front, and the winner is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well, I've made it no secrets that I'm very happy with this win.
Yeah, I think it's the correct one. I think overall, I think it's kind of a weak year.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many like Everything Everywhere All at Once has got amazing buzz and is a really great film and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you either get a film that people are just like floored by, or some years you get 2 or 3 movies that are really like fighting it out between each other for it. You'll get like the year when Moonlight won, despite what was announced initially, and it was against like La La Land, and I think it was another big film that year as well. And you get like 94 when you had Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction all fighting it out, and the wrong one won, of course. But and so you get some years where you get like 3 or 4 big films. When I look at that list, I think, even though I haven't seen it, probably the right one won. Banshees of Inisherin was maybe close, but I think it's kind of a narrow story. Either you like it or you don't. Some people won't like it.
It's quite a niche story. I also think if there was a second place runner-up, it was probably All Quiet on the Western Front, given how
many other awards it won.
How the awards have gone this season.
I just haven't heard, like, if I look at reviews or people that I've spoken to who've seen it and blah, 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 it doesn't seem to come close to Banshees or other things.
Yeah, same.
And I really enjoyed Top Gun, and I really enjoyed Elvis, despite its flaws. And I kind of thought, I thought Top Gun... The Guardian's been doing a week, kind of, all of last week, like, reasons this should win. And the Top Gun one's actually very compelling. Although it's not like a masterpiece of a movie, I haven't met anyone who's watched it and not really enjoyed it.
Not come out of it with a spring in their step.
Yeah, and it kind of, I hate this saying, but it saved cinema, because obviously it made a load of money when no one had made a load of money post-COVID, like Spider-Man a bit. But and obviously now with Way of the Water somehow making loads of money, even though everyone I've met who's seen it hates it. But yeah, anyway, but it just doesn't. There's nothing apart from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now it's won it. I kind of feel like it's obvious. Like, what else would have won it? Like, what else really had that kind of momentum? Or
nothing really had the same sort of spark as it, I think.
But yeah, I think it's probably the right decision. But I would have been happy with Banshees, and as a rogue one, I would have been happy with Top Gun as well.
Yes, yeah, I would have been happy with that too.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that brings to a close our Oscars ceremony, and we have managed to go through all the categories, tell you everything about each one, and tell you our thoughts and opinions of how they got it wrong. And our podcast is about a quarter the length of the Oscars.
Is that true?
Well, it's only about 3 or 4 hours, aren't they, the Oscars? And this podcast's about an hour. So, so I don't know how long it was this year. Some years are worse than others with the Oscars, with the speeches going on too long and things. But no, so just remember that, people. Don't listen to the Oscars next year. If this were
the Oscars, the music would have started playing and they would have started getting the hooks out. Yeah.
Stage. Absolutely. But on that, we are off to the Variety after show party.
To get blind drunk with Bill Nye. I hear he's a riot.
And also, his name's gone up my head. Paddington 2.
Are you thinking about
Hugh Grant?
Yeah. Answering a question in a way that is categorically Hugh Grant.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair play to the man. Have a wonderful week, everyone. We will be back with a regularly scheduled review episode next week. And bye for now.
Bye.